I'll first start off with schools. That has been the predominant topic over the last month or so, and it's designed to be that way. A superintendent releases his proposed budget, and again, Merv Doherty is a personal friend of mine, and I work and talk with him quite often. Matt Harris, to my right here, is a deputy county administrator, has a counterpart over there, Deputy and Superintendent Dr. Thomas Taylor. Again, they have continuously worked over the course, not just the last month, quite frankly, over the last 6 months to a year since the last budget's been developed, to again position ourselves for those finite resources to be deployed. I respect the fact that Dr. Doherty had to go through a needs-based budget exercise. He had to present that to a new school board to kind of lay out all the variables that they may be facing today and tomorrow. While it was an excitable exercise that they went through, it was never designed to necessarily be a year one funding exercise. Our tax rates could not necessarily support anything of that magnitude. But having said that, though, it lent us to a lot of different questions, a lot of different priorities, and us working together, working with the state, quite frankly, about how we can pull out, if you will, key initiatives that they have, and also put out into our 5-year financial plan, which we have long established, long held, dear to us, being included for future initiatives of the schools and how to position them as such. The end result was a school budget that was $55 million higher than last year. That is the largest increase in the history of Chesterfield County that I'm aware of, and the percentage increase is actually one of the largest percentage increases as far as any element of our budget. That increase covers lots of new state mandates. With state mandates comes state services that we have to provide, but it also enables some local initiatives to be done. We are going to continue to work with the schools throughout this process, quite frankly, throughout the summer, and again, perfecting our 5-year financial plan exercise to understand what are all those other initiatives that were not funded, what were all those other needs, quote unquote, that were not funded, to see what we can also fit within the 5-year window. So we respect the challenges that the school has and the many students that they serve. We also are mindful that those same students that they have challenges with in serving at higher cost than maybe an average student, those students are also our citizens. Those students live in households for which we serve also. Those households may have friends and families that come and visit that we also serve. And that service for us is 24/7, 365. There has been much discussion on the teacher salary scales and pay and compression. And again, my wife, my mother, my sister are all teachers. I was actually an adjunct professor prior to coming to Chesterfield County as a part-time job. The funding of a teacher is not just a local Chesterfield topic or what the appropriate funding should be. That's a regional topic, that's a state topic, that's a national topic. We need to value the teachers. We need to fund them accordingly to the value that they bring in making a difference in a child's life. We all, and when I say all levels of government have a certain responsibility to best meet our commitment to doing that. Having said that, the federal government's role is very little to none, if you will, on funding a teacher's salary. The state's role is becoming less and less every year, and I think we're down below 50% as far as their role. So what once was a predominant partner in funding a teacher's salary is becoming less and less as they go along because their salary scales, their models, what they think a class size should be, are not the service standards that we think exist and should exist in Chesterfield County. So over the course of the prior 2 months, again, many statistics have been heard throughout the community. All I can say is, we are glad to fact check. We are glad to research any statistic. We're glad to work with our school counterparts to understand the source data for certain statistics. But again, what we are going to try and talk about is just the facts that are in this budget, what is in it and what is not. So traditionally, our commitment to the school board budget has been very consistent to our regional competitive peers. Those competitive peers are Hanover and Henrico. 2 localities that I worked with, 2 localities, quite frankly, when I worked with, Chesterfield was their competitive peer. So those 3 localities have a lot of the same DNA. We have very similar teacher salary scales. We have many similar teacher pay practices. And again, I think we're all going to try and work to recognize the increased value of the teacher over their career. We're going to continue to work to advocate to our state delegation. And when I say we, I'd like to get Hanover and Henrico also involved in such legislative activity. Again, as far as what the state's role with those funds are. I would really even try to see if we can get our teachers' salary scales aligned properly. So we're all talking about the same thing. We're all talking about the value of a teacher and what they bring to the classroom. So again, the county and schools, having said that, we have teamed together to do a compensation study for the teachers. That study was just approved at the last board meeting for $100,000. I'm proud to note that we have actually narrowed down a short list of vendors under some cooperative agreements that other localities have done in the past, and we're hopeful to interview such firms next week. This county and school exercise means that we both own this topic. We're both responsible for hopefully funding the topic and making it a priority in both of our budgets going forward. Part of thinking about this topic, and I'm only talking a little bit longer about this one because it was such a highlighted topic over the last month, this lends ourselves also think what are innovative practices out there to show the value of a teacher, to reduce their out-of-pocket costs for classroom supplies and other things that they incur in perfecting their education and their classroom. What is the role of Chesterfield Education Foundation? It's a nonprofit organization of businesses. How can we help position them to raise more funds, more monies, so they can give monies back into the classroom, perhaps actually back into a teacher's paycheck? What are other roles that we can play, similar to what we do with our police officers? For those that don't know, our police are contracted off-duty to work for the private sector at about $32 an hour. That helps supplement a police officer salary after their full-time job, after their shifts. Again, is there potential for teachers through tutoring or other skills that they may have that we could further deploy? Could we use them in our libraries and our park programs? Again, let's have those fresh conversations because, again, if I can find a tutoring job for $50 an hour for 200 hours during the summer breaks or winter or spring break, that's $10,000 more per year per teacher. Not saying that's the answer, I'm just saying that's an example of an innovative practice that we can do. So having said all that, another collaborative activity that we're going to be working with the schools on further, and I'm really just proud as a teammate to be witnessing two departments that really are dealing with many of the same types of challenges, and that's our social services department and our schools. And this particular topic deals with residency requirements. A byproduct of an all-accredited school system is that it becomes a destination where parents want to send a child. Many of those parents that live outside the area, they move here for that education. Many people are locating to this area to choose Chesterfield for their child to go to school. So unfortunately, though, some don't necessarily follow the rules and try and get their children in our school system otherwise. The schools are overwhelmed, quite frankly, with I think just 2 people assigned to that task. This particular budget doubles that force, really puts it really as a county team, if you will, of social services and the schools. There's many laws that the powers of social services has that can supplement the schools, again, to best position our school system to be for the residents of Chesterfield County. As an example, for every 200 students that may be in our schools that do not have the residency requirement to be there, it's an annual cost to our school system of over $1 million. That's a significant budget constraint to the schools.